blog, Nutmeg Notebook. I'm real excited because today we are at local Spicery in Marysville, California. I'm going to be interviewing Nick Davoren. See, there I go. And he started this store along with his wife, Evelyn Wood, and we're going to find out about how they decided to become Spicerers. Is that the right word?
That's the term.
That's the term. So I'm going to let you tell us about your business, how long you've been in business, why you picked Marysville, why you decided to start a spicery business. How does somebody become a spicerer? I have so many questions that I'd like to know. Plus, I love his spices, so I'm so excited to be here today. So you want to get started and tell us some of the history?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we started local Spicery about 7 years ago, and that was after a good 10 years of Evelyn and I talking about it. We both of us had a long-standing interest in owning our own business. We would go on vacations. We would talk about different things we wanted to do, but the recurring theme was always a spice shop. It started with our own cooking at home. We both like to cook. We both, in our cooking, like the seasoning. I think I recently said Penzeys was our gateway drug. Once we discovered Penzeys and that there were shops out there that had high-level spices, it changed the world for us. But the other big change that we discovered was with our own cooking. We found that we really preferred the flavor of the spices when they were fresh. And it starts with a mortar and pestle, and then you get a little box grinder, and then you get a little commercial grinder, and next thing you know, we find ourselves opening up a spice business and flying out to Buffalo, New York to get a hammer mill custom built just for our spices. But the genesis was all really about culinary quality, and was about the freshness of the product and being able to put something out there that we don't really see in the market anywhere, which is genuine, locally milled, freshly produced spices, and the flavor is truly, truly different.
It is. I can attest to that. So how did you choose Marysville? And tell us a little bit about this building as well.
So Marysville chose us. We started out in the Bay Area in Marin County. We had it was a former office space that we were renting that we had remodeled into a place to house our mills and all of our processing. And we have a store in downtown Tiburon. So we were just all we were doing was keeping the product in the store and doing farmers markets. But as I was getting closer to the end of my my career at the time, working for an engineering company, and Evelyn as well, we decided where we wanted to be, and just drew a radius around the Bay Area so that we could still get down to the store if we had to, and picked places that we liked, and we ended up moving up to Grass Valley, which we just love, and then started looking for so where do we move the business. And it took us a couple of years because we just couldn't find the right place, and our process is very unique, and we have very unique needs for our facility and our space. So we started to realize that we're probably going to have to build our own building. And then we saw an ad for a building in this city called Marysville. We'd never been here.
Interesting.
Yeah, we came out here. It was a raining day, and when we came out to see it, this building, the best way to describe it is Evelyn walked in, turned around, and walked out. The building had been sitting here since the mid-'70s, completely unused, at least legally. Downstairs had been on and off a homeless encampment. All the doors and windows had been kicked in. It was, since the mid-'70s, essentially an abandoned building. But it was such a lovely building, originally built in 1858, a beautiful Victorian brick facade in the front, and it was a good size for us, and we just loved it. And we loved the idea of bringing life to an old building, And actually, it was long after we made the commitment and in construction and starting to look at the history that we found out that actually, in fact, in 1858, this was originally built as a Chinese herbalist shop.
I love that. I mean, it's like it was its destiny, right?
Yeah.
To become that again.
And then the Chinese family that lived here beginning in 1911, which was when they added the second story, they continued that kind of general Chinese merchandise, but from everything we've read and we've heard from some of the older Chinese people here, they were known primarily for their herbs. So, so we brought life back to the building, and we brought back some of the life it originally had.
Right. I love that part. It's exciting. So let me ask you this. How did you go from being home cooks and really into doing your own spices, grinding your own spices, to be able to do it commercially? Did you talk to other people who had similar businesses? Did you do internet research? I mean, what did you do to figure out how to do this kind of a business?
So there really is no one you can go to talk to. 'Cause
Okay.
Anyone who's in this business, they're not going to give you their secrets.
Right.
Walk up and say, "Hey, can you tell me the mill settings for peppercorn?" Yeah.
Right.
So it was a dive in. You just had to dive in with. I mean, literally, we knew nothing about the operation of a hammer mill, but we decided, based on internet research, that the hammer mill was the right mill for us to start out with. This was the most versatile. It can do tea cuts, it can do chilies, it can do things that almost other mills just can't do. And once we bought it, you bring it home. There's no manual. You just have to start doing it.
And then you had to figure out how to source the raw materials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had an idea initially where we were going to get the initial ones, but we're still learning, and we're still all the time finding new product that we bring on the shelves, and we're finding all the time product that we used to have that we can't carry anymore. One of the things we do that limits us tremendously is, we're absolutely committed to not selling sterilized food. So nothing that's been irradiated and nothing that has been treated with ethylene oxide are the two main methods. And that cuts about 90% of the spices available in the market off as not available to us. And then we also have a strong preference for certified organic, which is an even smaller piece. So, we're going through these haystacks and trying to find the needles, and it's a lot of work, but it's very interesting work and very rewarding.
Well, those were two of my questions that I was going to ask you about, because people are always asking me when I talk about products, are they organic? Because people are very conscientious about that right now. They don't want to be exposed to pesticides and so forth.
Yeah.
So on your label, does it?
Yeah, so we're totally transparent about that, actually. If you look at our labels, we list all the ingredients. I know you can't see that. But the ingredients, when they're asterisk, those were ingredients that were grown certified organic. But even those that weren't grown certified organic, they were not irradiated, they were not treated with ethylene oxide. In a lot of cases, we choose not to buy certified organic because we know that there's actually no difference in how they're being grown. For example, vanilla. We have a source right in Madagascar that lives with the vanilla growers, and he's told us, we can buy his certified organic vanilla. It costs 20% more, but it's the exact same thing as the non-certified organic. It's just the farmers that can afford the $2,000 or $3,000 a year to maintain the certification.
Right. They have to charge more.
Yeah.
Because they've paid for that.
Yeah.
So, and vanilla has gotten so expensive.
Yeah.
So do you do a vanilla powder?
So now we don't.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you know what happened with vanilla. But,
No, I would like to know why the price has gone up so much.
It's a sad story, but the good news is it's likely to come back down. But over the course of 2 years, 1 year there was a tropical storm that wiped out 40% of the harvest in Madagascar.
Okay.
90% of the vanilla in the world is grown in Madagascar. So whatever the price is in Madagascar, that's the price everywhere.
Okay.
So they had a tropical storm. It wiped out about 40% of the harvest, and it doubled the price of vanilla. And a lot of people in industry thought, it's not a bad thing because all of that money is going right to the farmers. These are people they're creating a luxury product. They're creating a very high quality, beautiful product. and their subsistence level living. But then the following year in the futures market, the Chinese came in and bought a huge quantity, and there was a second tropical storm that came through, so that the amount that the Chinese bought ended up being 100% of the harvest. So they had the world over a barrel, and they tripled the price.
Right.
So, I mean, literally, product that we used to be able to get for $55, $60 a pound wholesale is now $350 a pound wholesale. So we actually, we had a lot of really great vanilla-driven blends that we've stopped producing just because it's hard for us to rationalize what the cost would have to be.
Right.
Very, very hopeful this last year in the auctions in Madagascar. Price has come down 15, in some cases 20%. That hasn't yet hit the wholesale market because everybody has warehouses that are full of old products.
Sure.
But our hope and belief and expectation is that late this year, as we're getting closer to the green auction, and there'll probably be another drop, that we'll start to see vanilla prices level out and come back down.
Is there anything that we can use in place of vanilla when a recipe calls for vanilla? We just really don't have a choice.
I couldn't look you in the eye and tell you that there's anything.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, there's imitation vanilla, but it's not the same thing, and it's got its own health concerns tied to it. Just in terms of the health of our industry as a whole, what really concerns me is, a lot of companies have been moving towards more natural product, and they've been moving, including more natural vanilla. And the second that the price of vanilla goes sixfold, they jump right back, and they're back to using artificial vanilla. And it's going to take a long time for them to come back.
Okay.
I think the long-term damage to the vanilla industry is going to be pretty significant.
Well, I'm still paying the high price for a little bit of vanilla powder, and using it sparingly.
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers what's the difference between spices and herbs?
So it is a distinction and it isn't, because most people, when you say spices, herbs are a subset of it. You go into the spice aisle of a grocery store and it's got spices and herbs together.
Right.
Generally, spices are it's a dry ingredient. It's made from an agricultural product, and it's used for flavoring. And you could say the same thing about herbs, but generally herbs are the green leafy part.
Okay.
So your oregano, your basil, those are all herbs. Interestingly, bay leaf, which is a leaf, we consider it to be a spice, but it's not really a hard scientific distinction. There is a distinction in in FDA, in that for freshness dating, they allow 2 years for herbs and 4 years for spices. And it's valid because herbs, the leaf it's a thinner product. There's less room to protect the essential oils, and so they you do need to use them much faster.
Okay, so since we're talking about that, shelf life. That's what people want to know about too. Is what is the shelf life of the herbs and spices that we buy?
I'll answer the question. But I'll also tell you that whenever people ask me that question, I want to tell them it's the wrong question.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The answer is, basically, spices don't go bad. It's not like a carton of milk or a piece of meat that, if you keep it long enough, it's going to kill you. They're not going to kill you, but they lose their flavor over time.
Right.
And they lose their flavor. The flavor comes from little biochemicals called flavonoids and flavonids and flavanols, and they're protected inside the essential oils of the product. The second that you mill it, you expose as much of the essential oils as you can, and those essential oils start to volatilize, and that's when it smells so wonderful. You open a brand new jar of spice and it smells fabulous.
Right.
But basically, that's the smell of spices dying.
Okay.
And they're if they smell great, they're losing their flavor. And how long after they're milled? If you ask FDA says 4 years. But our experience is that a year after it's been milled, you've really lost a significant amount of the flavor. It's an interesting date because the American Spice Trade Association has estimated that it can take a year after it's been milled before spices are generally even put on a shelf in a retail store. So most of the spices that you're buying, you're really not getting what you should be getting. Now, the question that you should be asking, I mean, don't ask me, how if I buy this, how long can I stick it on my shelf and watch it until it's no good? Really, the answer is, what can I do to use this more? How can this enrich my life? Because, spices are wonderful, fantastic, vibrant, exciting things. And they bring so much to our food, and they bring so much to, to our living.
Right.
That, we should be using them and using them a lot. I mean, and there's tremendous health benefit from spices. In general, spices are anti-inflammatory, and in general, spices have an antioxidant effect as well. So the more spices that you're using in your food, the more healthy your diet is, and the more enjoyable your diet is, frankly.
So do they lose those properties as they start getting older? Do they lose their benefit for being anti-inflammatory,
so there is
antioxidant?
no research available into that.
Okay.
But I have to believe that they do. I mean,
If the flavor starts to
the
go away.
flavor comes from the flavonoid, and the
Right.
flavonoid has the health benefit as well. So
Right.
if the flavor's going, I think it's not a huge leap of faith.
Okay, so what's the best way for us to store them once we get them at home?
So most important thing, the first thing that attacks spices most is oxygen. So you need a really good seal. And,
Okay.
Our jars, it took us 2 years to find these jars.
And I love these, by the way.
They're pretty, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
They're really pretty.
Yeah.
And you get to, I can see what's in there. I can see how much I have left.
So one of the most important things to these jars, I mean, one, it's a steel lid, so it's solid, but then it has a plastisol seal on the inside. So when I tighten it down, it gives me a very, very tight seal. By the way, it's a BPA-free plastisol seal.
That's important also.
So the oxygen seal is the most important thing. So keep them closed, keep them sealed. We get asked the question a lot about what's called what's the word? A fitment, yeah, fitment, which is the little plastic ring that goes on top so you can shake product
Yes,
out.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you about that.
So the problem with those is you're putting a piece of plastic on top and you basically lose the good seal.
Okay.
So it's not, they're going to attack your spices. So you want to keep them sealed. You want to keep them in a cool environment. And by cool, I'm not talking refrigerated.
Right.
I'm talking, really if you can keep them from where the spices get to 85 degrees or so, you're going to be okay.
Okay.
The higher the temperature, the more your essential oils are volatilizing and you're losing more flavor. But since we're all going to use more spices and we're going to use this jar out in 6 months, it's probably not going to be a problem.
Right.
And then light will discolor them, and with discoloring, you'll also lose some of the health benefits of some of the flavor as well.
Okay. So let's say I want to take your wonderful cinnamon, which is so much better than anything I've ever bought at a grocery store or Costco, because it's not about price, it's about quality.
It's about freshness.
So if I want to sprinkle that over, a baked apple or something, how do I do that since those don't have a little shaker lid?
So it's if you can get away with it, you can just tilt the lid and shake like this, or you can put a little bit in your hand and do the classic chef move.
There you go. I like that too. I like that because it makes me feel like I'm a professional when I do that. Okay, that's great. So since they're so fresh, which like when I open up your jar of cinnamon, it's just like, oh my gosh, it smells so good. And when I use a tablespoon of it in a recipe, I get a much deeper cinnamon flavor. So when I'm cooking, should I use less of yours because they're so much more fragrant and flavorful?
You can if the flavor bothers you, but for me, I don't use less. In fact, I'm a big flavor guy. And I like big flavors, and if the flavor's good, then then more of it.
Yeah.
Some spices can become bitter on the mouth, but when we source them, we try to source, away from that kind of a flavor profile. The three things that really lead to the quality of our spices. One is our sourcing, and we will go through many different lots of a product before we'll purchase to make sure we're getting a very narrow flavor profile.
Okay.
One.
So do you taste them?
Yeah.
Do you get to taste them? Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
all the time.
Which is why you allow tasting in your store as well.
Oh yeah, we demand it.
I love that.
We like to tell people, come on in. We like it when you stick your nose in our business.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, so it's the sourcing, it's the freshness in the sourcing, because we also make sure we're getting the most current harvest.
Okay.
So a lot of times, big spice companies, they'll buy the product, by the pallet or by the container, and because FDA says you can hang on to it for 4 years, they'll buy 2 to 4 years worth of product because they get a much cheaper price on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sitting in their warehouse, and those essential oils are volatilizing, and you're losing flavor.
Right, and then it's going to go to the grocery store, and then it's going to sit for who knows how long on the grocery store. So, and if the clerk who's restocking it doesn't rotate the old stock forward, then who knows how old those spices are. And I think that sometimes, like, someone will try a recipe and they'll that I have on the blog, and they'll say, it didn't have as much flavor as I thought it should, or, I had to use more, whatever spices or herbs I had in there. And then I'm always thinking, how old is that? How long has it been sitting on your spice shelf? Because it's really important to go through your spices and pitch them as they get old.
We're going through that right now with a very big restaurant. And they gave us one of their recipes for a spice blend that they use a lot, and actually they want us to create it so they'll be able to sell it in a jar in their restaurant.
That's so exciting.
But when I followed their recipe and I tasted it, it tasted terrible.
Really?
I mean, it's like the cloves was like, you do not want this much clove.
Okay.
I brought it to him, and the guy said, well, outside of the cloves, everything tastes fine. And so he had to go back and check their recipe and check exactly what quantities they were using. We're going back and forth. And finally we realized that they're not used to fresh milled cloves.
Right.
And cloves is, it's such a big flavor, it can completely overpower. And fresh cloves, that's one where you really want to be careful. Yeah, I mean,
right.
There are 2 or 3 spices I would say, you need to use in very small quantities, and I think you're right. The freshness, you would want to use less in that case, but in general, I use the same quantities and a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and as I've been using yours and transitioning to yours, I've been using the same quantity, but then I thought, but it does have a lot more flavor, which is wonderful. Yeah. So I love that. So what's the difference between the granulated garlic and garlic powder, and then sometimes there's even, I think it's like freeze-dried garlic. What's the difference with those?
So garlic specifically, usually it's chopped or minced before being dried, because that's just the way they dry it.
Okay.
So if you're buying it dried, you're going to get it chopped or minced. Then in our case, we run it through a mill at a low temperature with at a low speed with a relatively large screen. So what falls out is a combination of powder and granules, and we sift the powder out, and so the bigger pieces are granules, and the fine powder is the garlic powder. That's basically the difference in terms of how it's created. Your question about freeze drying. Yeah. Freeze drying is wonderful. It's not used enough, I think, in this industry. It is more expensive in 2 ways. One is it's expensive to do, but secondly, it gets so much of the moisture out that the product gets so light, and when you're selling it by the pound or the ounce, it looks artificially much more expensive than it is. Okay. But you tend to get more of a fresh flavor from freeze drying than you do from air drying, particularly with herbs. Oh. And that was one of the early things we wanted to do in this company, was buy very large quantities of organically grown local herbs and find a contract freeze dryer and have them freeze dried. And we thought this was going to be great until we started getting pricing of domestically grown organic herbs, and it was like 3 or 4 times the cost of what it is to get product that was organically grown and has already been freeze dried in Germany.
Okay.
So the price, we couldn't do that, but that was one of our ideas. We love freeze drying, but it's expensive.
Okay. Well, Nick, since I follow a no salt diet, and a lot of my viewers also follow no sodium added to their diet, we're so excited that you have a line of no salt seasonings for us as well, because those are hard to find sometimes, especially ones that really do have good flavor to them. So one thing that I like to make is I like to make some of our own little sausages, because we don't eat processed food, so we like to make most everything from homemade. Do you have anything that I could use for like a breakfast sausage or an Italian type sausage? Right now I have to mix my own. I have to take my own and make my own blend. But if you had something that I could just scoop out, that would be fantastic.
So not a perfect fit.
Okay.
The one thing I'm thinking right now that might work for that is it's actually a French herb blend called Herbe de la Garrigue.
Oh.
And it's from the south of France, and it's got really big flavors. It's got some fennel. It's got some peppermint.
Oh, I love fennel.
Yeah.
Peppermint.
So, yeah. It's got some
I
bright,
wouldn't have thought
spicy
of that.
flavors.
Okay.
And it's a lovely flavor, and it's salt and oil free. I think I would start there.
Okay.
We have other blends that people use for making sausages, but they tend to be high salt content.
Right, which I don't want the salt.
Yeah.
But maybe you could take that and take the salt out and make us a no salt blend.
I say we could do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you know, that Evelyn and I have both been moving towards a salt and oil-free plant-based diet
And I'm
since
so
February.
excited about that. I'm so excited about that.
Well, it's been a huge learning experience.
Yes.
And a very rewarding learning experience. Right there. Yeah.
Well, because you came to the Get Healthy Sacramento event that Linda Middlesworth puts on, and the vendors were in the same room where the speakers were speaking, and so you guys got to hear everything, and I love that you listened and took it to heart, what was being spoken about.
It's a very compelling story.
It is, isn't it? It really is. So, okay, well, we're going to work on that because we're going to work on you guys, and we're going to work on the sausage seasonings, because I have we call it a darn good sausage recipe that's on the blog that people really like. And I was making some different ones, but AJ doesn't have beans, and the original recipe had beans in it. And so she was like, she felt left out because she had come to visit and everybody was trying the sausages. And she said, "Can't you make some for me without beans?" So, and she was spending the night, so you know how she is. So the next morning when I got up, before she got up, I started experimenting. And before she left, we had to take her to the airport that day, but before she left, I came up with a no bean little vegan sausage for her, and she was so delighted. And now they've become super popular on the blog.
The biggest news of that whole story is that you were able to get up before her.
I know, right? Well, I think she was awake, but she was just staying in her room. I think she was on her phone, which she's on her phone all the time.
Before we leave, I'm going to show you that Herbe de la Garrigue, because it's
okay.
The more I think about it, it's very close.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, I just want to tell people that how important it is when you're following a low sodium or a no salt added diet, how important seasonings are. So you want to have really good quality spices and herbs, because we're trying to replace that flavor that we get from salt. A lot of times a recipe will taste flat without the salt, but if you use really high quality spices and herbs, you won't even miss that salt, because there's so much flavor, there's so much aroma, and you just won't miss it. The one thing that I love about spices too is, you know, the effect it has on your brain. So you smell something and then it can trigger a memory, you know, and then you can just, oh, it's like, oh, I'm back in my grandma's kitchen, you know, because of that smell. I love that. So you guys, besides just having the spices and herbs, tell us about your teas as well.
So the tea division it's really the brainchild of our daughter Rachel, who is a huge tea fanatic. And when you know, we started this business, and she was very excited about it. She's also an extremely avid cook.
Well, I think she got that from the two of you.
But she started blending some teas for us using some of the product we have, and we ended up, you know, setting it up for her to create a line of teas. So she blends all of them. Philosophically, it's very, very similar to the philosophy of the spice business. It all is based just on whole, pure ingredients. We don't use any essential oils or other flavorings. In some ways, you know, a lot of people expect much bigger flavors out of their teas because they're used to the essential oils, but we feel very good about it. And you know, when you're used to a softer flavor, you find that your taste buds mature, and you can detect some of the finer elements to them.
Well, the tea that we had when we arrived today, you tell them about that one, because that was so delicious.
That one we call Marrakesh Express, and it's you know, it was put together primarily for its health benefits. Actually, that flavor profile started as a spice blend that a lot of plant-based people are buying right now. It's called the Moroccan Breakfast blend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which I love to put in oatmeal for my breakfast, but it's got a lot of other uses. But the main ingredients are you know, turmeric, Ceylon cinnamon, and ginger. And
great for inflammation.
Yeah, all three powerful anti-inflammatories. You know, we started with those flavors because we wanted to get those products together, and you know, started realizing very quickly that this is Moroccan.
Okay.
So we have the Moroccan Breakfast blend as a spice, and then my daughter took it, and you know, we took the same product, we tea cut them to larger pieces, and you know, she added some other ingredients to it. There's a little bit of hibiscus, which gives it a pale pink color and a slightly tangy flavor.
I like the hibiscus.
It's a delicious tea. It makes a great iced tea. The one thing about it is it's almost all spices. So if you think about it more like a mulling spice than a tea, actually, you realize that you can steep it at a very high temperature and for a very long period of time. The pot that we had this morning, I've got it upstairs. I'll keep it with the tea in it almost all day, and at the end of the day, I'll bring home a small cup, and that'll be you know, a little iced tea before going to bed.
Nice, and you sell that as a loose leaf tea also. And can you tell us why that is? Why you've chosen not to put it into bags?
So mostly that stems from you know, actual tea, the with caffeine, but. In the world of tea, the flavor, you actually, if you look at a tea leaf, you get different distinct flavors from different parts of the leaf. And the edges around the leaf, where they get the most dry, are actually where the bitter tannin flavors come from. But the sweet, rich flavors that we want the most are on the inside.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So processing tea, you know, they're twisted, they're rolled into a ball, different things that they do for different types of tea to dry them and to get them prepared.
Okay.
But if the tea, once it's steeped, doesn't have enough room to completely open, you don't get the full flavor of the tea, and you're likely to get more of the bitter flavor and not enough of the really rich, thick, sweet flavor of the tea that we love so much.
Okay, so do you suggest then not to use like a tea ball even in the pot? Just throw it all in?
So if you have a pot, the best way to go is to put the loose leaf tea directly in the pot.
Okay.
And use a strainer in your cup. So as you pour it out, you keep the tea from going in your cup.
Okay.
If you want to make it just by a cup, you use what's called an infuser, which is like a deep basket that drops drops into your cup, and it has plenty of room for the tea to swim and to open and do what tea does.
Okay, now I know. We have some of those,
Uh-huh.
and I wondered why they were made that way. Okay, that makes so much sense now. Okay, I'm learning a lot here today, you guys. I hope you are too. So that is so exciting. Well, so you want to tell them about the special deal that our followers will get if they want to order something from you.
So part of, when we, Evelyn and I started following the whole food plant-based diet, salt, oil, and sugar-free, we started realizing how hard it is to find product that fits the diet. It's somewhat easier for us because, we have this giant spice shop.
You could just go in there and make anything you want.
But, one of the things that we did was we created a landing page on our website where you can find all of our SOS-free blends.
At localspicery.com.
Localspicery.com, then click into spices and then click into, I think it says SOS friendly. But you go there, you don't have to worry, nothing on that page has salt or sugar in it. But the other thing is we really want to share these because we think that they're excellent flavors. And I found that, a good spice blend can even be life-changing. So what we want to do is share them as much as possible. So if you order from us, when you go to checkout, there's a little text box that's called the order comments. Just mention Tami or Nutmeg Notebook, and we'll send you 2 samples of our SOS-free blends or spices for you to try something different. If you want to make a request of which blend or spice you would like, or it's better just give us general principle, nothing with garlic or nothing too hot, or see if you can kill me with the heat kind of thing. Because we're a small company, and part of the quality we put into it is we work in very, very small lots. So we run out of product frequently, and if we're filling an order and someone says, I would like a sample of Davoren, and we just ran out of Davoren, and I don't want to wait another couple of days to get your order off to you until I can reblend the Davoren. So we'll get close, and we'll let you know in advance to meeting what you asked for. But if you give us kind of broad descriptions of what you're looking for, you might be pleasantly surprised with what we pick for you.
Now, if someone's in California, where can they come and find your local stores?
So we have a store in downtown Tiburon, which I don't know. It's a lot of people haven't been there, but it's a beautiful little seaside village. You can get there by a ferry from San Francisco or drive anywhere in the Bay Area. The Tiburon store is open 7 days a week, from 11 to 6. And this store here in Marysville, where we have more limited hours because it's just me and my wife here, and we're usually in the back or upstairs filling orders or blending or sifting or milling. So we're open here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 to 5.
And you guys who are local to Sacramento, it was only like a 26-minute drive from Roseville. So beautiful drive, well worth the drive to get up here. Oh, you're saying it was 31? 36. Okay. I thought the GPS said that it was going to take 26 to get, but who's counting?
From Sacramento, it's probably...
From Sacramento, it'd be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I got you.
There it is. I was looking all over.
So do you want me just to say that again?
It's from the Sacramento area.
I will. I'll
It's
start
only
there.
about 45 minutes from Sacramento.
Okay. Are you ready for me to go?
Yeah, we never stop.
Okay.
Go.
So you guys who live in the Sacramento area, it's only about a 45-minute drive for you. And it's a beautiful drive, and it's a cute little town. So come on up. When they're open, come and taste and smell the spices and see for yourself. I know people always ask me, what are your favorites? So whatever I'm talking about, they want to know. Well, I can tell you that the cinnamon is like at the top of my list, because it's so much better than any other cinnamon that you have ever tasted. And maybe you want to tell them about this, because you have different cinnamons.
Yeah. So there are 4 distinct species of cinnamon that are used for culinary purposes, and we carry 3 of the 4. The reason why we don't carry 4 is that the distinction between the Chinese cassia and the Vietnamese cassia is just not enough to carry the 2. So
Okay.
we have the Ceylon, the Indonesian, and the Saigon. Ceylon is very, very mild. It's also called the true cinnamon. In fact, if you're working off of a very old recipe or a recipe that is very traditional coming from Europe or from India, if it says cinnamon, it's Ceylon cinnamon.
Oh.
Otherwise, it would use the word cassia.
Okay.
The other two cinnamons are both considered cassias. The Indonesian is what most people are used to. 80+% of all the cinnamon sold in the United States is Indonesian cassia. Ours, it comes from the region Corinche, which is considered to be the best of the Indonesian cinnamons. And then we have the Saigon, which is the sweetest, most powerful cinnamon.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite.
You have a sweet tooth.
I do have a sweet tooth, and I love it.
Yeah, it's unbelievably sweet. I've literally had customers come arguing with me, bringing it back, saying that there's sugar in this, but it's just pure cinnamon bark milled. There's no, in fact, not only is there no sugar, it actually helps level your blood sugars.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So those are great. And then because it's fall, I have to tell you, the pumpkin pie spice and the gingerbread spice are so amazing. So, and I just love that, the blend is already together for me. I don't have to worry about, how much allspice or, anything. It's perfect. They're already perfect. So you don't have to mess with it. And also you don't put any fillers in your spices, nothing to make them not clump and that kind of thing. Because I bought some pumpkin pie spice, and I know that not from you, but from Costco, and it had too much filler in it. Every time we used it, it would make Tom and I choke because it had unnatural things in it.
Well, actually, for people that are going vegan, a lot of times the product that they'll use as an anti-kicking ingredient is actually made from bones.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Okay, we're really getting an education here today, you guys. And then the smoked paprika, that's become really popular in the last few years, and I love it. So if you're making a vegan cheese sauce, it just gives you just a really nice flavor and some depth to it, and also because we're not using salt, because it's a stronger flavor, you don't miss the salt in the cheese sauce.
Now, on our smoked paprika, one thing that I would say is most smoked paprikas have a really, really dark flavor. Ours is a very
lighter.
Sweet. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say lighter, but it's
sweeter.
It's sweeter. It's brighter. It's almost tomatoey. So if you're looking for that dark flavor, you may want to add a little bit more. But I like it because you can use it in so many more ways. I just when I first tasted that, I just couldn't believe how sweet and bright it was.
And it's nice to use different things, different spices. Try them, and like you said, adjust how much you're using. Recipes on the blog are just an idea, because what you consider hot and what I consider hot can be two different things, right? Because at one of my cooking classes, and it was a Mexican fiesta cooking class, and one lady said, "Oh my gosh, this is way too spicy." Another lady sitting behind her who just tasted the exact same thing said, "This is nowhere near spicy enough," and I was like, and it's the same recipe, ladies, so it's personal taste too, personal preference.
So people come into the shop and they ask, is this going to be too spicy? And it's the typical loaded question. It's almost as if they just asked, do these jeans make me look fat?
Right.
There's no right answer. So.
There's no right answer. That's
Not
right.
To me.
And then Chef AJ had introduced me to the pepperoni, which that is so remarkable. Hey, I could probably use that in my sausage recipe.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't we think of that earlier? The pepperoni, that would be so good. And then the Hestia, the Greek blend, that is so good. Oh,
very versatile. You can use that on anything, the Hestia.
Yeah. So I hope you guys wrote those down, because
It's going to be a test.
No, it's just before they order, they usually email me and say, "Now, what were your favorite ones?" Because, it's whatever you have in your pantry that you like, whatever flavor profiles that appeal to you, or whatever types of recipes, whether they're Greek or Asian or Italian, whatever it is that you make a lot. Feel safe that you can order something from local Spicery, and you're going to like it because they are so, they're very particular about what they're going to buy and what they're going to put out there for you, so you can feel confident about purchasing from them. So I think now I'm going to let you show me around, and we're going to show our viewers how this all comes together, how you process everything and make it happen. And we'll show them around the show floor here too.
Okay.
So as you can tell, they are very passionate about what they do. And so you can trust that everything that they're putting out on the website for sale is the highest quality and the best product that they can possibly provide. So if you want to order something, go to localspicery.com, and as a special program for our followers, on the checkout page, if in the comment section, if you put in Tami Nutmeg Notebook, Nick will give you 2 free samples of one of the no salt added blends that they have come up with. And if you want to make a little notation in there that you'd like it to be something spicy, or you'd like it, to be Mediterranean, if you have a preference, you can put that in there. They'll try to accommodate that, but just know that because they do mill everything in small quantities, they might be out of the exact one you want, but they'll give you something that's really close to that. So try out Local Spicery, you guys. They are amazing. And if you live in the Sacramento area, make the drive to Marysville. It's not that far, and it's a cute little town. Thanks for watching today. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to Nutmeg Notebook and click on that little bell over there so that you won't miss any new videos that we have coming up. And when we do our lives on Tuesday Live with Tami and sometimes Tom, you'll get a notification for that as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.